Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome on back to Marvel Snap Zone. Hopefully all is well with you, and welcome on into another daily video. Today, I'm taking a look at a question I actually received on stream yesterday that kind of caught my attention. I get asked a lot what the best Series 3 or Pull 3 friendly deck is. People looking to climb to Infinite without access to Series 4 and Series 5. And if you take a look at the last few tier lists that we've made, you'll probably notice there is a standout archetype that kind of is the de facto answer in this case. We call it good cards. It's pretty obvious why we call it that. The deck is just mostly built up of the best cards at each energy cost available to it in Series 3 and below. However, there is a version of this deck that has made a resurgence onto our tier list this week, commonly referred to as Handsize good cards or Devil Dino good cards. This deck is slightly different. It acts as kind of built around Devil Dinosaur as an alternative win condition, provides you with extra card advantage through cards like Sentinel and Agent 13, which means it has some slightly different play patterns to its alternative option. The question I received was, HowlingMines, both of these decks are ranked at tier 2, which one is better and when? And I thought that made for a really interesting video concept, so that's where I am today. We're going to walk through these two decks bit by bit, kind of look at the pros and cons of each version, and then my plan is to take you through some games with each version of this deck so you can see for yourself what it is capable of doing. If you enjoy this type of content, you want to see more videos like this one in the future, you've got to be sure to let me know. Leave a comment down below for me and let me know what you thought of this type of video. Make sure to like the video while you're down there and keep the algorithm happy for me. And if you want to make sure you're not missing out on stuff like this, subscribe to Marvel Snap Zone at your earliest convenience, and then you won't miss out on any of our daily videos or live streamed content. With all that said and done, let's take a look first of all at the traditional good cards priority version of this deck. This is kind of the more stock version of this deck at this point, the one you're more likely to see on the Marvel Snap ladder. It's a kind of a relic of a bygone time. It's almost lost a bit of momentum recently, but it's quite easily still the go-to Series 3 deck to climb the ladder. This actually was a tier 1 choice just a few weeks ago, but compared to the decks above it right now, it's kind of obvious what this deck is able to do every turn, when other archetypes still have unpredictable elements to them. This one is all about getting priority early in most cases, looking to use cards like Lizard and Maximus, and even White Queen a little bit later on, and then just kind of dictate the final turns of your game with big powerhouse cards like Leech, Arrow, Leader, and Magneto. Because you have so many redundant options at the energy curve, it means that if you don't draw any of these particular cards, you should still have things to do. Leech can really be the most important version in this version of the deck. It's quite frankly an important card to win certain matchups that are just make or break without it. Look to play it as early as possible against these highly synergistic decks, including things like Silver Surfer and Zabu, but do be careful against those Zero Shuri decks out there, or anything you think might be running the Infinite, or you might very well be doing them a favour. This one has more game in those matchups, whereas the alternative, something like the Handsize deck we'll take a look at now, is arguably more tailored towards beating the good cards deck. This is kind of the point-focused counterpart of the good cards archetype. It's a variant built around Devil Dinosaur, dropping all the disruptive tools for the most part to look at developing your own board and making sure you're winning with raw stats instead. This is very likely the best free-to-play deck currently available in Marvel Snap, because quite frankly there are only 3 Pull 3 cards in this shell as well. This cheaper price point doesn't hurt, however. The deck is particularly good against its Leech counterpart because raw stats don't care about what Leech has to say. More importantly, this deck is better against decks that have a disruptive element as a whole. Thanks to a big Devil Dinosaur and this kind of hand-size package of Moon Girl, White Queen, Sentinel, and Agent 13, the deck is always using its energy very efficiently, which means it can reliably set up endgame turns with Arrow and Leader that can just close a door on the opponent they can never present enough stats to come back from. This one is built more of 2 parts. You have utility cards, things that kind of contribute for points, but also might be adding something else to the equation in the process. You're going to be looking to play those without locking out options for yourself later on. Cosmo is easily the most sensitive of the bunch in this case, as we got to think about where we want to play Arrow or Leader in the future, but it can serve as great protection for Devil Dinosaur, so positioning on that one is really important. Your win cons here are a little different. We're never going to be looking to leech our opponent, but we are utilizing Arrow and Leader still alongside Devil Dinosaur. You can expect these cards to win a lane or contest them by themselves, and most games should be conceptualized with these in mind, coming down on the last 2 turns. You're going to care significantly less about what your opponent is doing here, and more about what you can do instead. You're looking to set up the best possible win conditions for yourselves on those final turns, and if the utility cards are able to take a lane the opponent didn't seriously invest into, that will make your life much easier later on. Just like the other good cards deck, seizing priority when going into your Arrow turn can often be very important at having that card be its best. If you are interested in these 2 decks but you don't necessarily have all the cards you've seen in them, some alternatives are offered in our most recent tier list article, so I recommend going and checking that out. I'll link it in the description box for you down below so you can see what's what if you're missing a thing or two. But we're going to hop onto the Marvel Snap ladder, play a few games with both of these, and try and explore some of the advantages and disadvantages of both lists in real time. So let's go and take a look. Okay, into the breach we go with Handsize. Let's see if we can't do some Devil Dinosaur shenanigans and see how this one feels on the ladder today. Okay, +1 entry is actually probably pretty good for us here. Normally I would like to just Iceman on 1, but getting the Sentinel spinning early does seem quite good. It means we have a guaranteed 1 drop for our turn 3 play as well. If we find nothing to do there, we can just go Iceman Sentinel on 3 as well. Sentinel kind of showing you its own raw power by itself here. Not only is it going to help you kind of play to the board early, but it gives you plays on basically every turn of the game, even if you don't find anything to do, and keeps the hand nice and stocked. So we get to have a big old dino basically always if we find it, because we're keeping our hand full of cards here, which is very, very sweet. So the Icebox does score a hit on the Arrow, unfortunately, which could make playing it and Leader a bit difficult, but that's okay. We should probably look to Sentinel Quinjet here to make the future Sentinels cheaper. That sounds like something I would enjoy. And look to squeak in the Iceman on 4 maybe. If not, we will just be holding it this game because we had other things to do on turn 1. Opponent with the Zabu, sure. Okie dokie. So Moon Girl probably not worth doing for us here just because our hand is already quite full, so I think we're just going to be going Iceman, Sentinel, Agent 13, spreading these stats around, keeping our hand very full, and seeing if we can find a dino here. Trying our best to remain in the lanes I expect my opponent to play into, so that my leader has the ability to, you know, play to a board. But looking a little tough at the moment. Shuri is going to make a big, big thing. And unfortunately, we do have reveal priority. So this is definitely one of the situations where I'd rather be playing the priority list and have access to a card like Shang-Chi, for example, so that we have more leverage there. Sentinel may have put us just a bit too far ahead here. I think we're going to have to go for the White Queen for stat reasons. Okay, I'm going to kind of hope that opponent makes me lose a lane, I think. So I think I have to do it this way for that to be the case. They just didn't play anything. So this is going to be the She-Hulk turn at the end? Yeah. We find out from... So this is actually one of the advantages of a card like White Queen, for example. We find out that the plan is very much the big She-Hulk turn on the end. So I guess the plan has to be Arrow here. And Arrow can hopefully win us the game. All by itself, by just pulling everything into Tinkerer's Workshop, and we should win the other 2 lanes. Let's try it. Assuming opponent doesn't play more than 3 things, I think we'll be okay. You can indeed play a whole 70 power worth of stuff on the last turn. Aero does not care. Aero will keep us safe. Great showing of what this deck is trying to do in the games where it doesn't draw dinosaur. You kind of love to see it. It's high on my list of things to do. The dino's shy today. The dinosaur has definitely been hiding in our hand. Not in our hand, sorry, in our deck for most of these games today. I think I'm on board to lead on Agent 13. Should hopefully give me more information going into turn 2. Maybe gives me a turn 2 play if I don't find one. Morag, sure. That's actually not too bad for us. We can play it. Oh, found a dinosaur. Found a dinosaur. We can play into Morag pretty easily, I think. So, gonna Ant-Man Quinjet. Opponent will Cable. Okay, stealing some goodies from us as well. Hopefully none of the too important cards, but most of our top end is in our hand already. Altar of Death. Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I think I actually send Lizard to his own impending death here, to be honest. Opponent will Cosmo, sure. In which case, you are the perfect spot for a dinosaur, I think. So we'll go... Alternatively, we can get the dinosaur into Morag, which is probably better. Try and cantrip the Iceman, draw a cheap card. That might be interesting, to be honest. I'm on board to try that. Opponent will White Queen. They have not gained any cards because, well, there is a Cosmo in the way. Dino in Morag. We find our own Cosmo. Unfortunately, that is not going to be enough to... sneak something else into Morag. So I think I'm just on board to go Aero over here for stats. And hopefully we draw something reasonable. Opponent sends Lizard into the altar too. Gets a Killmonger into Morag. That is pretty bad for us, I think. Wish I'd cantrip the Cosmo now. I'd still be able to lead her on the last turn. I can lead her into Altar of Death. So we're going to be up by 4 and down by 4. So the leader probably ties if it goes into Altar of Death. Unless the opponent plays something that adds a card to my hand. I think that is our best chance to win this game, though. We know the opponent has a leader, too. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's a tie. It's a tie like we thought, but we actually got our dino underneath Shang-Chi range. What a cool game. We actually can do the sweet thing with with getting our dino to shrink. I guess maybe... why did our opponent expect us to play nothing? Ooh, cloning vats? Don't mind if I do. Quinjet cloning vats is like one of my favorite things to do. This is just always some hot nonsense. White Queen gets pulled. We're not arguing with that either. We've gained a Spider-Man. Opponent has lost their Shang-Chi. Both of these are good things for us. So let's go Quinjet Sentinel. And now these Spider-Mans that we get to play should be quite cheap for every turn going forward. Opponent with the hood. Sure thing. So we can probably just stop them playing into cloning vats like ever. Which would be quite disgusting, honestly.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here.
Hand is still flush, plenty of early stats. Opponent's going to wave. Okay. I think this might be Galactus. And if this is Galactus... So we have some interesting options. If this is Galactus, what I should do is Aero, Sakaar, and ruin all the plans. If it's a destroy effect, I should probably Aero it away. But I think it's Galactus. Should have snapped, I know. The comment section will rip me to pieces for not snapping there, but you know what? Fine. I was focused on what I was saying and what I was thinking. Didn't click. To be fair, my opponent may very well have left if I'd snapped in that last game, I think. Miri Isle is a sweet one for us early here. We're going to get a little bit icy. Get some stats, nuke our opponent's hand. Asgard, okay. We play, oh, dude, we play so well into Asgard for the most part. Gonna Scorpion Miri Isle here too, I think. Hopefully find a play on turn 3 to join White Queen in Asgard to try and draw some more cards. That would be nice. Opponent going Miri Isle 2. Bast. Bast completely nullifying the Scorpion. F. Okay, that counts. We're gonna Agent 13 middle here and look to White Queen mid as well. Opponent with plenty of 3 power stuff on the other side now. A little scared about where this is going to go. Bishop, sure. So they drew the bishop this turn. We have gained a Typhoid Mary. Not sure we care about that, honestly. We could guarantee the card draw, but I think giving the debuff is worse than just playing a White Queen here for the most part. We gain a copy of Magic. Opponent plays their Mr. Negative, so... we know we are going to be gaining some extra turns. Cards are drawn. We don't need to magic, I don't think. But I would like my opponent to magic the wrong place. So I guess where do I want them to magic? Miri Isle, I guess. I think this is what we would prefer in this case. We don't mind having a turn 7, but we would rather try and lock up the stats on the side here, ideally. So we have some interesting choices now. Our hand is flush for this dino, and I think we do that before we leader. Good chance opponent could be on Surfer too, so I'm going to snap. And then we're going to go Dinosaur in the Shadowlands. I'm going to hold this Quinjet, I think. It's worth the same amount of stats as playing it, but I want more leaderboard space for the final turn, I think. Opponent will Serra into Psylocke. Okay. So now we've got to choose where we go. We could choose to try and stab the Surfer if we truly knew where we thought it was going to go. I'm a little worried about Iron Men coming our way. So I think the best bet I have is leader mid. And that way we successfully get all of the space. We actually make a second dinosaur before the rogue hits. And now the rogue from our opponent could even steal the Serra ability back. Wow. Double dino this time, huh? Yeah, that did not go how my opponent intended. Very nice. Dinosaur coming in clutch. Mystique from being copied from the opponent, making another dinosaur. Arguably even more clutch. What a cool one. What a cool one. Okay, time for us to take a look at the alternative to this strategy. If you're less about the dino and more about reacting to your opponent, it's time to take a look at the traditional good cards priority archetype. So let's get that deck built and then take a spin. Okay, so we're going into the breach with the more reactive counterpart, the Leeches, the Shang-Chis, the Magnetos of the world. I do think, for the most part, this is my preferred version of the deck. And it's a bit of a convoluted one, but I think for the most part it's just because at the moment I see so much Zabu and so much Surfer. And I think this version is a little bit better into those two decks, even though you are a bit worse into most other things, in my opinion. Kind of no early play here really sucks. We do only have like the 3, 1 and 2 cost cards, so this is going to happen sometimes. Okay, Psylocke suggests there is a negative coming for us. The question is, can we guess where it's going to go? And my initial instinct is if it's a negative, my opponent wants to win the 2 lanes that don't have an injure in it. They do have reveal priority though, so we don't get to stab a negative with Cosmo anyway. Alright, I think I'm still doing this, but not scoring the hit. Yeah, we were so right about where they wanted to go. Shame that we didn't have a 2-cost play there to get that in our favor. Just ruin our opponent's day with where they wanted to miss the negative. Just going to run out the White Queen here, I think. Try and get some more information about my opponent's hand. They have the Iron Man in hand already, so no inverted Iron Man coming. That is good information to have. So the Wong in Grand Central is a bit crap. I'm going to try and pull the on-reveal played out of it. There's a chance the on-reveal's not coming this turn, to be honest. But I think given that it's Grand Central, and they risk getting quite full, if they've got like Brood in hand or something, they really don't want to risk Brood getting hit by Grand Central and filling up the Wong spot. So I feel like they wanted to play into the Wong lane this turn, so we're going to try and move that out. Okay, so they were looking to double Wong, which we thankfully have prevented. So I'm assuming this is surfery nonsense. Whoa, okay. That would have sucked. But opponent actually did us a favor, killed the ninja. Unfortunately, also killed the arrow. Interesting. So where do we think... we gotta do some guesswork here about where we think the opponent is going to try and play the on-reveal. This is interesting. So we're either going to pull the Gambit if we go here, or we pull the Wong if we go here. Alternatively, we leader. Really tough one. Like, part of me wants to try and pull this Wong out and just, like, strand my opponent with no double on reveals. I think this is probably going to be our best bet. Opponent doesn't want to see it. They are gone. Okay, we go again. See if we can't find ourselves with a Leech game this time. New York from the opponent. This hand's pretty good. Early stats here. Pretty happy to get priority heading into the Aero Magneto turns. He says before not getting Aero or Magneto turns. Thank you TVA. So I guess we would like to draw Thor or Maximus the most. Opponent will Bast. This could be quite hard to win. Atlantis? Oh, buddy. So I think we armor mid. I think I Sunspot New York because I can still draw Maximus to go into Atlantis. I think that is the plan. But also leaves Atlantis free of charge. Brood in New York means we are not winning that one. Alright, that counts. White Queen is a good shot. We'll go for it. Is 11 Atlantis, 8 TVA going to be good enough to win those two locations? Kind of happy to not have seen the Brood in TVA, to be honest, turning off Lizard. I think I would have been a little more worried about that. Opponent will Ironheart. Not going to be good enough. White Queen, bigger than the Ironheart. TVA still getting 1. Weird game. Weird game. Opponent was clearly on surfer negative. And not happy about the turn 4 end game either. We're the ones who get to just use these big statted early plays to thankfully steal some cubes from them. Okay, nice early start here. Plenty of stats to get us into the Aero Magneto turns. Shuri's Lab, quite an interesting one for this deck too, I think. So Yondu early for the opponent. Shows them a Hala. Do we want to kill their Yondu? Probably not. They probably want to kill their own Yondu. So let's just make a 10 power lizard. 10 power lizards are good. Scorpion for opponent also pretty good. Shrinking some stuff. Still plenty of stats on our side, thankfully. Okay. So opponent's going to have 4 in hand. Okay, so kind of want to pick this fight. Maybe this is bad. Maybe this is bad, but I'm picking this fight and we'll see how we go. I do get to win in picking this fight by the looks of it. We find an Odin, opponent with the Wong. Okay. Okay, that's not going to be happening, friend. We do not want you to be wonging things. That's not a favourite of ours. So Aero gonna do what it does best here and stop the Wong, and then we will Magneto and stop the Wong again. Showing you the power of disruption. Whee! White Tiger will make a Tiger. So this has 11 power. So if we pull the Wong, we tie in Machine World. They could just Odin mid, potentially, to get another Tiger. I think we just do this. Goodbye, Wong. I imagine my opponent isn't overly happy about how that went. I think their Mystique was supposed to have some kind of target. I'm not sure why you'd play this after the white Tiger. I don't really know what you were trying to achieve in that case. But yeah, that's pretty good example of how good moving things can be, I think. Okie dokie, let's take one more with this one. See if we can't get a leech game in of some kind to showcase the power of that card right now. Morag is a bit annoying for this deck, actually. It's kind of hard for us to leverage that location. I don't think I'm supposed to hold the Sunspot. I could, like, Thor, draw the hammer. I can draw Lizard. I can draw armor. These are all things that kind of let us get around Morag later. So, Lizard is certainly interesting. Am I supposed to save this until turn 5? I think I actually am. Give some juice to the Sunspot. Look to go 3-drop into 4-drop into... Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Do I just Maximus to give my opponent a rock? That seems mostly okay. Especially if we intend on maybe leeching this hand anyway. Depriving it of stuff. Opponent will Gambit. Discards a leech, hits the Sunspot. It's a bit unfortunate. Is what it is. We will fire off the White Queen, in which case... see what we can find in our opponent's hand. Get a little bit more information. White Queen is definitely growing on me recently. I love being able to inform my decisions based on my opponent's hand. They do give us an Apocalypse, they Hellcow, they do make some copies of Swarm. Okay. In which case, I think we just fire the Leech. Try and stop that Apocalypse from having relevant text. Opponent snaps. Let's see where we're at. Curious about how this one is going to land. We do have reveal priority, which is very important here. So if we spike the Apocalypse, we will be fine in seeing it die horribly and not come back. Swarm gone, no extra discard. Swarm back into the deck, pulls out the Morbius. Okay. So we have to play into 2 locations here to have a shot. So what I think we do is we go... Man, this is rough. If we Shang-Chi and we're wrong and the opponent plays into Atlantis, we just look so... They have to play into Atlantis, so we can't Shang-Chi. They do have reveal priority. So maybe the plan looks like this. There we go. Smooth and buttery. Leech doing some work. Stopping the extra swarms. Stopped the Apocalypse too. Yeah, I think following games at the moment, I'm a really big fan of both of these decks. I think they are just possibly the best way to compete in Marvel Snap if you are a Series 3 player at this moment in time. I think if you're looking for something that's kind of better against the room, less teched for a meta game, I think I recommend the Handsize version all round right now. You might want to find space for a Shang-Chi in here to be better into Shuri Zero and things like Darkhawk all around. But I think for the most part, this is the more proactive game plan and less reliant on what your opponent's doing. Kind of makes it better into things like Negative Surfer, Patriot, this kind of stuff, in my opinion. The other tier 2 choices, and I think this definitely is favoured in the mirror match of the good card decks, in my opinion, as well. Although I think it's pretty close, because Leech can be quite impactful there. Speaking of Leech, I do think if you're looking for the list, it's going to be better into Surfer, into generic Zabu shells, big point shells, that kind of stuff. I like going here. I think Shang-Chi is very good in those decks. I think Leech is obviously backbreaking against the Surfer players. And it's really cool to see there's just a couple of different ways of navigating this deck, depending on what it is that you want to try and beat right now. So if you have enjoyed this video, you've got to let me know. Leave a comment in the section down below for me, please, and just let me know what you thought and see whether these kind of deck comparison videos are worth doing more of in the future. Make sure to like the video for me down there and subscribe while you're down there as well to make sure you're not missing out on daily content from the team here at Marvel Snap Zone. But until next time, you can enjoy the ambulance behind me because I live in a great area. I've been HowlingMines. Take care of yourself, folks. I'll see you again very soon. You've been amazing. Have a good one.